Bobby Charlton. Well done, Manchester United.
Beckham. Into Sheringham. And Solskjaer has won it. And it's half saved it. United again. Rooney. A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie.
Hello folks and welcome to United Hour, your official Red Cafe podcast for all things Manchester United. I'm your host without a Red Cafe account, David.
I'm Imran.
And I'm Jamie.
So we're recording right after what I would class as a reasonably convincing win against Everton. Obviously we've all got smiles on our faces here, and Jamie, what were you like at the end of that game there when Cavani made it 3-1?
Kind of two feelings. I was really pleased for Cavani, actually. I think it's important as a striker just to get off the mark, as quickly as possible. And he's maybe looked a bit sluggish in some games where he's come on as if he's still maybe struggling for fitness and struggling to get up to speed a wee bit. But that was a good finish when he came on, and I was quite pleased from that way. The other feeling was a mixture of relief and feeling quite good. I thought the second half was more of just a dogged and determined performance. I thought Maguire was excellent, and I thought we were thoroughly worthy of the win. Maybe not for exhilarating play, just the fact that we were more determined, I think, than Everton to try and get the result today. So just relief really to get a good result.
Yeah, 100%. And what about yourself, Imran? Was that some weight off of the shoulders?
Yeah, I think it was a big game to win, particularly being 17th, 15th before the game starts, something like that. It's early days, but you've got to start making your way up the table at some point. Everton away is not an easy game. We didn't win there last year. I think the year before we lost 4-0 as well, was it?
Yeah, we got hammered.
Yeah, so good to get a win there, and I think one we deserved as well. So I think I'd have been really quite miffed if Everton had stolen one at the end. I don't think they deserved to win. I think we did deserve to win. So overall, pretty happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird, towards the end of that game, how you always get that feeling whenever we're either 2-1 up or we're drawn and there's a couple of minutes left, teams start to lob balls into the box. You just have that underwhelming feeling of dread that they're about to score. It's like we went from being the team that always scored in the last minutes to always being the team that gets scored on. But for today, for some weird reason, I never had that feeling. I wasn't scared that Everton were going to get the equaliser in the dying minutes. And I think a lot of that comes from, like you said, Maguire was excellent today. I think he had the most clearances out of anyone, won absolutely everything in the box that Everton threw at them. Everton had 29 crosses today, and our defence pretty much dealt with every single one of them extremely well. I think you could tell from the offset that was Everton's sole tactic, was to hammer the ball into the box every opportunity. You've seen it with one of the free kicks that Sigurdsson had when he didn't beat the first man. I don't know if on the feed you guys were watching, but it cut to the bench and it showed you Ancelotti and Duncan Ferguson's reaction, and they were absolutely livid with him. Quite clearly a tactic that they had set up was to try and put a bit of pressure on a sometimes suspect defence. But I thought we were just so rock solid at the back today to a man. It was brilliant to see, and absolutely we deserved to win. Jamie, what would be your key takeaway from that? Obviously, other than Cavani getting off the mark, like you mentioned, what's your key takeaway from that much-needed win?
The 3 points, really. I was on the podcast, obviously, on Wednesday and on after the Arsenal game, and both games were just so disappointing in terms of the performance, and that was the thing that worried me the most. But as Imran rightly says, the position in the table was really worrying. To be down at 15th, even this early in the season, is worrying. So the 3 points was the biggest takeaway for me, because we just absolutely needed to get the win by hook or crook. We needed to get the win today. I was pleased, as I said, with the doggedness of the performance. I thought we responded really well to going 1-0 down. There was a good bit of quality for the 2 goals and probably the second half of the first half. But the biggest thing, the 3 points. I just thought the win was extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it takes a massive weight off of everybody's shoulders going into the international break now. And I think we saw some of that in Ole's post-match interview. It looked like maybe the media noise was maybe getting to the staff, and that win just means that the conversation in the international break is, okay, can we kick on from here? Can we finally get some consistency going? As opposed to a draw or a defeat, and then all the talk is Ole out, Ole out, Ole out. I think he's bought himself some more time, and I think we go into the international break with a bit of optimism, but obviously we're such a consistently inconsistent team that I don't know if I'd be expecting us to immediately come back for the international break and put a hammer on West Brom like we should. But what about yourself, Imran? What was your key takeaway from that game?
Yeah, just basically what Jamie said. 3 points, and it goes to show how integral Fred and McTominay are for us at the moment. They didn't have a great game last weekend, but you can kind of, these extenuating circumstances there. It was a different formation, the diamond, which I'm not a fan of. And they were both played quite a few games in a row. I think like Fred had played like 4 or 5 games in a row at that point. So I think giving him a bit of a rest for Wednesday, although to our detriment on Wednesday because we did lose without them, but you put them back in fresh today and you just see the work they get through, how solid we look in midfield. Like, they were everywhere today. Fred, you kind of expected from Fred just to be putting in all those tackles, but I thought McTominay was just as eager to put himself about, and both their passing was pretty good as well today. A couple of loose passes that you expect from kind of both of them, but in general I thought they were just an excellent, solid midfield pairing, and it kind of helped our defence as well, who also looked solid because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just touching on Fred, when I was doing a bit of post-match analysis, I was surprised, and I don't know how much to look into the metrics of some of these websites that gather all the player data. But Fred today, his rating on who scored was 6.8, which I was surprised about, and we had Rashford at 7.4. This was despite Fred having our highest passing accuracy at 90.8%. I thought Fred had a wonderful game, was really, really solid in there.
I think it weights dribbling and stuff a bit higher, and shots and stuff. Whereas I think a lot of Fred's tackling and interceptions come from harrying someone and then someone else nips him for the ball, or they give the ball away kind of thing, which doesn't get recorded as a stat. Like Fred putting pressure on someone and then them making a mistake doesn't come across as a stat. So he kind of undervalues it in that sense.
Yeah, that's the thing with these stats. I mean, just for after this game, I decided to go all out and be a proper statistician. But it's just, it doesn't make sense that way. And I have some reservations about the XG system. I know our beloved Nick absolutely swears by that. But yeah, when you see something like Fred seemingly didn't have as effective a game as Rashford, it just makes you scratch your head a little bit. But Jamie, getting back to the start of the game, I thought we started really, really well in the first 4 or 5 minutes, straight from kick-off. We looked to be on the front foot. And then Everton kind of grab a goal, I'd say, against the run of play. What was your thoughts on Lindelof dealing with Calvert-Lewin in those early stages there and coming up second best against them? What were you immediately thinking after that? Was it, here we go again, it's going to be another struggle, or did you think that we were going to get a hold of the game again?
Well, just to kind of go a bit further on the start of the game, I kind of wrote down that as well. After 4 or 5 minutes, I thought, decent start, we're keeping the ball, don't look too overly threatened at the moment. And then I think immediately after I wrote that note, Bernard beat Wan-Bissaka down the outside, puts a cross in, and Calvert-Lewin kind of ducks down and flicks it over his head, and it just lands on the top of the net. And I was like, there you go, we've started well, but there again is just that, I don't even know the word, it's not commitment or anything like that, it's almost as if just too standoffish at times against Arsenal, too standoffish at times against Istanbul, and it just looked, after that one incident, that's the way the game went for 20 minutes or so. Everton just started growing into it. I thought Bernard actually had a pretty good first half down the left-hand side. And Calvert-Lewin, you're right, just kept peeling on to Lindelof, and it was a clear tactic from Everton that every time either Pickford or Holgate or Keane had the ball, it was one long ball all the way over the top, and every single time it was pinged in the direction of Lindelof, to which Calvert-Lewin was peeling over onto his shoulder and was threatening him every time. I've said it before, I like Lindelof as a player. I think he's a decent player. He's maybe not a world beater and he's maybe not the answer, but I think he's good. But the one weakness he has got is in the air when he's up against somebody who is particularly good, which is exactly what Calvert-Lewin is. So for the first 20 minutes or so, I was worried just from that first instance that every time the ball was in the air, something was going to happen, and obviously that's exactly what happened. I'm not sure what actually happened with the goal, because it looks as if he actually wins it, but it's the second ball, and McManaman actually said it on commentary, where even if Lindelof loses that header and Calvert-Lewin flicks it on, the reaction of your fullback has to be much better, and you have to get to the second ball quicker. Either win it, or if the other player wins it, get right in their face and don't let them get the shot off. Don't let them make you have to make a decision on your defending. And it was just a poor goal to concede from me. I mean, it's a good finish by Bernard, but it's a poor goal. Maybe not from Lindelof losing the header, because I think he actually does win it to an extent. It's just the reaction to the second ball. It's so slow. And that was kind of symptomatic of how we've been playing for the last 2 games. So at that point, I was a bit worried, yeah.
I don't think it's a slight on Lindelof to lose a ball in the air to Calvert-Lewin, to be fair, as well.
No, not at all.
I think a lot of players better than Lindelof in the air will lose headers to Calvert-Lewin at some point. So I don't think it's... I mean, I'm not Lindelof's... I'm not like a paid-up member of the Lindelof fan club or anything, but I think, it's all about the second ball there. I mean, he's won a header 40 yards from goal, 30 yards from goal, big whoop, make sure you deal with what comes after that.
Yeah.
Like, I thought Wan-Bissaka started the game horribly. Like,
yep.
Almost negligently in the way he started this game. Like, he was just ambling around at points, just not being asked. There was a couple of times where people just peeled off the back of him and he was just kind of like watching the ball, strolling around. I thought it was a really poor start. I was actually getting quite pissed off with him.
I thought all our players started reasonably well except him, and I was just... It's weird when you know how good he is at getting a foot in, stopping a shot, stopping a cross coming in. I don't see anything that Bernard did that made it so difficult for Wan-Bissaka just to get an extra couple of yards closer to him. Like, it was really, really strange. And I thought the passage of play leading up to it was leading up to the Everton goal was strange, because it seemed like we were going quite long in the first kind of opening stages of the game. We played a few long balls up to Martial, up to Bruno, up to Rashford, none of who are experts at winning the ball in the air the way that Calvert-Lewin is. And their goal came from a long, aimless ball, went straight to Pickford, who we know can pretty much kick the ball the entire length of the pitch. He puts it up. I think Lindelof, the reason that his header does what it does is he's probably expecting Calvert-Lewin to win it, and it's more of an accidental header than anything. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka absolutely has to get closer. But a response, I think we probably all felt like, oh, here we go again. The camera cuts to Solskjaer. Your mind is thinking, is he going to be here? Is he the right man? Like, what's going to change? And then probably one of our better reactions to going a goal down in recent times. And we just went back on the front foot, got a hold of the game, and then Shaw puts in almost a carbon copy of the cross that he put in against Istanbul. And we've got Bruno coming in with an absolutely blinding Ronaldo against Roma-esque header. Absolutely fantastic finish. And he gets us back in the game. And from that point, to me, it seemed like there was only going to be one winner, even at that early stage. Jamie, what did you make of Shaw in this game? Because I know the first half I thought he was absolutely excellent. What was your overall opinion of him and his what looked like more of a threat going forward these past few games? He seems like he's offered a little bit more. I mean, you see that he can pick a player out. Yes, we can argue that in Istanbul it wasn't the best defending, and today it might not be the best defending as well, but he still has to pick someone out, and he's now done it expertly twice with an inch-perfect cross for our players to knock it in the back of the goal with a header. What did you make of Shaw today, Jamie?
Well, absolutely, 2 assists in 2 games. It's just shows he can do it. As you say, I don't know if it's per instruction over the last couple of games he's been asked to be more adventurous down the flank and do exactly what he's done. Stand 2 brilliant crosses up into the box that we score from. I would like to see a lot more of that from him. I'm hoping his injury isn't too serious. I hope it's just one that keeps him out.
Apparently it's a hamstring.
Well, that's touch and go, isn't it, really, between 4 and 6 weeks or something like that. But if that's the case, I'm really disappointed for him, because he was very, very good today, I thought. And he's actually been not bad over the last month or so. he's put in a few good performances. He's been one of the few players I would say hasn't really let us down, despite some of the defeats and some of the poor performances. Today was probably the best he's played in a long time, but he has been improving. So I was a bit disappointed for him to see him go off injured. But hopefully he does get over that quickly. And maybe it is a wee bit of this David De Gea kind of thing where Henderson's come back in, put David De Gea under threat, and De Gea's performances have improved. Maybe buying Telles has just maybe gave Shaw a bit of a kick up the backside, showing him that there is serious competition on the bench for his position now. And maybe that's why you're also seeing some better performances from him. I'm not sure if it is or if it isn't. But either way, he has been much better in the last month, so it is disappointing that he's got that niggle of an injury.
Yeah, and I was about to ask that exact question to you, Imran. Do you think Shaw's kind of upturn in performances has been linked to us getting Telles in?
Probably. Someone knocking at your door is going to make you play a bit better, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, I just think Shaw's generally quite a good footballer. He just has his lapses, but then I think everyone does. But in terms of actually an actual technical footballer, I think Shaw's pretty good, or dare I say very good. It's why I think I get more disappointed with Shaw's when Shaw doesn't cross the ball well than when, say, Wan-Bissaka doesn't cross the ball well, because I kind of expect it from Wan-Bissaka, but I think Shaw's got the technical quality about him to put in balls like that on a consistent basis, which he needs to start doing now. Like, if you look at like Shaw's first touch, generally is flawless. Like, usually when the ball comes across to him, he never miscontrols it. The ball's coming out high, low, fast, whatever, he generally just touch and it'll be straight out of his feet. So, like, technically, I think he's a pretty solid player for us. He just needs to do this more often. I mean, I was joking after the Istanbul game that he'd used his one cross power up for the next 10 games or something. So to actually see him do it in the next game is pretty good, really. I have to take it back.
Yeah,
Apologies to Luke Shaw.
Yeah, it was good to see, and we obviously wish him a quick recovery. I know it's an injury that he's had before that's put him out for, I think it was 4 weeks the last time his hamstring went. It was weird though, like when he was coming off, to me it looked like he was a little bit annoyed that he was coming off and didn't quite understand why at the time.
Maybe he was just annoyed that he had an injury.
Yeah, it was just my interpretation of his body language, being the body language expert. But
body language expert, Dave.
But yeah, so moving on from there, we're 1-1, and then we go and score.
We should probably talk about Bruno's header. Bruno's header was class. That is a cracking
Bruno's header was quality. It doesn't get better than that. And unfortunately, you know what I ended up comparing it to in my mind, and I don't know why it went here, and I probably shouldn't admit to this on a Man United podcast, but it was really similar to Gerrard's against AC Milan in the Champions League final.
I genuinely have no clue what you're talking about. Why are you remembering it? Oh, the final.
I don't know. I guess just the one that made it 3-1. It just came into my head because I was like, that I've seen a header like that before that was just absolutely perfect, right into the side net, and cross coming in with not too much pace on it, and it just being like just a world-class header, excellent usage of the neck and back muscles, and it was just phenomenal to see. But he was phenomenal today. He was everything that we expect from him. I think but we probably have to touch on Bruno a little bit because there was a lot of conversation after the last couple of games that we need to rest him, that he needs some time out the squad, that if you look at his overall performances, can we forgive some of the lapses and some of the mistakes, some of the things that he does, and just expect or hope that he pulls off some of these world-class moments and does it balance it out? And I think today when you see a performance like that, you get your answer. I think Bruno has to be the first name on our team sheet, and I think he, more than anyone today, just embodied what we really needed to get over the last couple of results. It was fantastic from him. He played the position much better than he played against Arsenal because it wasn't too different a setup for him. He was the main focal point as a number 10, and he was all over the place, but he wasn't chasing down as many stupid balls that he had no chance of getting a hold of it. He just seemed a bit more disciplined, was more committed. I've seen him put in a couple of tackles on Coleman, which is always nice to see. Sorry for our Irish supporters. But it was just a great performance from him. What did you think, Imran? Was that one of his better showings this season?
I mean, yes and no. Like, yes, in the fact that the things, when he was, like, there was that touch that he did, from the free kick that we should have had a penalty for. There was the touch that he brought that ball down with to spin Sigurdsson was like, it was Bergkamp-esque. It was genuinely one of the most beautiful things you can see on a football pitch was that touch. It was immaculate. And then about 10 minutes later, Marshall was 5 yards in front of him and he managed to pass it 10 yards to his right. So like these are just the things that you get with Bruno in a game. But when he's doing 2 goals and an assist at the end, it's a joy to watch. Plus he was having an ongoing fight with himself for the entire game. It felt like he just wanted to get a scrap with everyone. It was great to see. I was having a great time.
Yeah, that was actually quite a lot of our players got involved in some stuff. Harry Maguire as well was put a couple of meaty challenges in, and one in particular which we'll get on to talk about in a few moments. But Jamie, what about yourself? Was that what did you make of Fernandez's performance today in the context of his up and down season so far?
Well, here's some stats for you for a start, right? No midfielder has scored more non-penalty goals than Bruno since his debut, which is 7. He's been directly involved in 22 Premier League goals since his debut, which is more than any other player. And no Premier League player has scored more away goals than Bruno in all comps since his debut in February, 11 and 17. And I said it after the Newcastle game. He wasn't great for 70 minutes, 80 minutes, whatever it was. And he ends up with a goal and an assist. Because he is that good. And he is frustrating at times where he tries things that don't come off and his passing goes awry and he looks like he makes the wrong decisions sometimes. But the guy is just class. And you need him on the pitch because, as we said, 2 goals and an assist. And you would argue that for half the game he wasn't great. He was excellent in the first half. The first half was brilliant from him. And then the second half, it's just so many simple things were just not going correct. And yeah, he was charging about the pitch with a lot of blood and thunder in some parts. But you need him on the pitch because he can just give you so much more than what most of our players can. Whether it is a goal or an assist, he's just quality. And you need him on the pitch, I agree.
Yeah, that's why you're lamenting coming off, when he came off against Arsenal with 10 minutes to go.
Oh, yeah.
And you're thinking, like, I don't care if he's playing crap. Like, he is the one man on the pitch where you think actually he might score a goal. Like, of putting a cross or just do something that you're going to get a goal with. Like, yeah, he needs to be on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think today he had the most shots of anyone on the pitch. He had the most touches of anyone on our team. He only had 78% passing accuracy, but again, that comes from him being willing to take those risks and try and play the more dangerous balls. Yes, it can be frustrating at times, but I think we have such a good balance in the midfielders in our team that we have Van de Beek, who it looks like he's vying for a position with Bruno, and that's it. Obviously, Bruno is winning that race, and rightfully so. But we see we have a good mix there where we have someone willing to take the risks and then someone who's willing to play it nice and simple, keeps a hold of the ball, probably always going to have more than 90% passing accuracy. But in Bruno, you just have that difference maker, and it's like it's almost like a striker in a way who just does nothing all game and then can pop up and get you a goal at any moment. Bruno's the same, except he's all over the pitch, always involved. He just seems like he embodies what it means to play for the club. And I think given some more time and given some more performances like today, I don't think... I mean, if Maguire keeps on his current form, then it's not a conversation. But Bruno, to me, looks like he's a future captain at the club.
Yeah.
It was just great to see that today, and he can take a lot of credit from that. And it's good to see his bounce back ability after a couple of really abject performances. But
can I put a question? Sorry to step on the host's toes, but I'm going to put a question out on the second goal. If you're Rashford, what do you do when that ball goes in? What would you do if that was you?
If it was me, I'd be honest. I'm the type that when I play, if I knock the ball out for a throw-in, but the ref gives it the other way, I'll correct the ref. So for me, I would have been going over to Bruno saying that was absolutely your goal. What about you, Jamie?
I would say the same, actually. I'm too honest at times like that, I think, when I play fives and things like that. So I think, I would probably just own up and be like, nah, that's your goal, mate. I've not touched it.
And this, people, is why Scotland never win anything. Disgraceful, that.
True, yeah.
I was about to
Probably
say,
true,
now Imran is probably thinking, 2 Scottish guys saying that they would be honest.
5-a-side on a Monday night, I am ring off. Yes, that was mine, that. I mean, I'm 5'7", so if I score a header, it's, something to be cherished.
It does beg another question, though, because I thought Rashford was poor today. I think he's he had one of those games where he didn't really impact that much. And I don't, why didn't he get his head on it? It seemed like it was within his reach. It wasn't too much pace on the ball. Why didn't he get his head to it?
I think he just wanted to like glance it like delicately because the ball was already going to like that sort of corner direction. But if he gets too much on that, he just basically heads it straight at Pickford because you're not going to be able to send. Yeah. It's going to be quite difficult to send it the other way. So with the spin on the ball, you just want to glance it. So he's probably just trying to get as delicate touch as possible, and then just didn't touch it at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if he goes onto that and meets that well in terms of like a bullet header, it's straight at Pickford. It's probably over the bar because he's really close to the goal, and it's really difficult to put it anywhere other than right at Pickford. So I think it's just he's trying to get the ever so slight touch on it, and obviously it just doesn't meet it at all, and it just results in Bruno getting his second goal.
Yep. And that second goal, I don't have the exact number of passes at hand, but we've been involved in the two goals with the most passes beforehand. I thought our build-up play was just phenomenal. There was a lot of structure to it. We won the ball back in midfield. We knocked it around for a little bit, which to be fair was actually quite, not easy, but not as difficult as against, say, Arsenal, because Everton put on no press whatsoever, which I was kind of confused by because we're so vulnerable to it. And I guess maybe it's just Everton didn't have the players in their squad to put the press on. I don't think James is the type to go guns blazing, try to win the ball back. Sigurdsson is much the same. He was absolutely shocking today.
Sigurdsson was shocking today, wasn't he, actually?
He was so bad.
Very poor.
You have to wonder whether he should have just spent his whole career at Swansea and then just become a club legend for them. Because everywhere else he's gone, he's not really... I mean, he's been all right for Everton, but not especially amazing or anything. Whereas if he stayed at Swansea, he'd probably be a club legend by now.
Yeah, I think he's... in a lot of ways, he's kind of like James Ward-Prowse at Southampton. He'll have a game where he just doesn't get involved that much, and then you get a free kick 30 yards out, and it's top corner. Sigurdsson does have that ability. I know he scored one against us a few seasons back, just an absolute peach. And it can create the sublime, but I think I don't know what age he is, I feel like he's getting a little bit on. He's just he doesn't have any type of influence over games at that high of a level. And yeah, he was just one of the many Everton players who just refused to press us. So for that second goal, we were able to knock it around, played a couple of triangles with a nice little 1-2. Rashford knocks it to Bruno, and Bruno plays what I guess is the perfect cross, because if it doesn't get met by a head, then it goes in off the post. So that was fantastic to see, and I think we were well worth our 2-1 victory, 2-1 scoreline going into half-time. The second half wasn't the most exciting attacking game I've ever seen, but I was still absolutely engrossed by it. But then we had what, to me, is I can't believe watching it, that we never got a penalty for it, is Pickford's karate kick on Maguire. Imran, why wasn't that a penalty?
Only thing I can think of is because Maguire does sort of put a hand on Pickford. I mean, it's very light. It's not enough to send Pickford flying. But I think that's possibly what VAR can use it as an excuse for not giving it. But it's a poor one, really. I think if you get kicked, I mean, Keane kicked him as well, so both of them just double team kicked him in the knee. I don't know. I don't know what VAR's doing. I think unless VAR can play with some blue and red lines, or like zooming on a guy's arm a million times, look at his hands, then I don't think they care. Yeah. I mean, yesterday in the Newcastle-Southampton game, it's possibly the most blatant penalty you will ever see in your entire life, with Lascelles just absolutely creaming Walcott, and they just didn't give a penalty. And when you can do that, then there's no faith in that system, really. It's just a potluck. It's interesting, though, that was Michael Oliver who didn't give the Pickford one on Van Dijk, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. And it probably was going through the back of his mind, like, as if I give this, then I'm just going to be under more scrutiny. And I mean, referees and VAR officials are only human, so I think, of course, that stuff is going on at the back of their head. They don't want to seem to be favourable in any direction, although Michael Oliver being favourable to Manchester United in any way, shape or form just is never ever going to happen. But Jamie, what about you? Did you think that was a foul?
Oh, Stonewall penalty. I mean, Pickford makes a complete hash of it.
Again.
He's clear. I'm still flabbergasted that we didn't get a penalty for that, because he just jumps in the air, loses the ball, drops the ball. He literally drops it straight to Maguire. It's not as if Maguire has to fight him for the ball. The ball literally drops at Maguire's feet. He doesn't need to move towards it. Then Keane comes in, and whether or not it's before Maguire puts the ball over the bar or not, Keane then kicks Maguire in the knee. Pickford comes round the side and kicks him in the knee. How can you not give that? Even like Steve McManaman on commentary couldn't believe it wasn't a penalty. So that tells you all you need to know.
When you said McMahon then, I thought you were talking about Vince McMahon. I was like, yeah, he would be proud of that one.
Oh yeah, he would be proud of that one, yeah. But when Steve McManaman is telling you that's a stonewall penalty for Man United at Everton, you know it's a penalty.
Yeah.
It defies belief. VAR looked. I mean, I know people moan about VAR, but even that's one for the referee for me. How the referee can't give that, and then VAR looking at that and deciding it's not a penalty, it just makes a mockery of the whole system, really.
Yeah, and I think it was a penalty. I don't think you can have. I don't think it's up for too much debate. I do have a slight bit of an annoyance with when penalties are given for things that a goal wouldn't have been scored from. And I think Maguire does make an attempt before he gets hit, and it does go over the crossbar. I've always, like, you know, when someone's like in the very corner of the 18-yarder back to goal, someone just leaves a boot in, they go over and they get a penalty from a situation that was very unlikely to result in a goal. I do have a bit of grievance with that. So in a way, I don't want us getting penalties for things that we missed the opportunity to score, because I thought Maguire had a reasonable opportunity at using his knee to get the ball in the net. But I just don't think that Pickford should be getting away with basically, what if you do that in the street? They send you to the cells for the night. You can't just fly kick someone in the chest going for the ball. And as we all know, he's got previous for it. And then at the other end, we have an offside decision that Maguire clearly sees is going to be offside. I don't think there's any debate about that. He clearly knows it's going to be offside and the flag is going to be up. And then I don't recall Maguire ever putting in such a meaty challenge like that on Digne, and he won the ball, but he does follow through, and there's a lot of people out there saying that should have been reviewed to some extent, and Maguire could potentially have been red carded for dangerous play.
I don't no chance. That's a brilliant tackle.
I think it's an amazing tackle. He wins the ball and he takes the man. If you do that in 2005, not one person pipes up and says that it's a penalty. It's just a great challenge. But we're in that day and age now where tackles like that are going to be scrutinised because there was follow-through. But I thought it was very cheeky from Maguire to go in that hard when he knew the flag was about to go up. And to be honest, I was happy to see it from him. Now, Lucas Digne, of all the Everton players today, he's probably the one that I would, as well as Shaw played. I think Digne is a fantastic player and maybe a better option as a reserve than what Tellez might turn out to be. Who knows? But of all the players to be on the receiving end of that from Maguire, he'd be my least down the list. But it was amazing to see Maguire just go and absolutely smash someone, because he hasn't really shown that, and we know that he can be this physical, imposing, strong defender. And we saw that today from him, and I thought the whole team were absolutely excellent at that today, really imposing themselves on what was, to be fair, a reasonably strong and aggressive Everton team. Like they came to play, but they also came to mix it up, and I don't think any of their players shied away from that. Were you impressed by that, Imran? We seem to want to compete on the ground and physically. Were you happy to see that?
Yeah, I mean, with they've got Alan and Decore in the middle, and that's a combative midfield, and I think we matched them. We definitely matched them. I mean, and I thought Maguire was just excellent with his clearing. That he was channeling the spirit of Vidic with the amount of time he was getting his head on the ball from like dangerous crosses or just the ball coming in. He was like a magnet to him, and he was just putting it out. And then he was the one who won the ball before we scored the third as well. So he's really just getting himself about and making sure he won the ball. And I think the same for Fred and McTominay, just really putting themselves about. And just matching them in terms of physicality and bite. And yeah, I think it was really good to see. Has Decore always been that big? He looked absolutely gigantic. I felt sorry for Scott McTominay when he got flattened by him.
That was like getting hit by a train. That he just went charging into McTominay, and I was like, I'm glad I wasn't on the receiving.
I would not enjoy that.
Because a meaty tackle.
I mean, I quite liked the game in that respect, though. Like, there was some decent, like, nothing was, I didn't think anything was malicious or anything, but there was some good challenges going in, like, people getting stuck in. But I don't think there was anything nasty or over the top or anything. I thought it was a good game in that regard from both sides.
Absolutely. I think that's what you expect from a Man United Everton game. Like, even with the fans there, we've had a couple of battles at Goodison before, right? I mean, even going back to kind of early Premier League era, it's always been a physical affair. And it was really, really good to see us match up against them in that regard. And I agree, I would be inclined to give Maguire man of the match for today. I thought he was absolutely excellent. He just didn't put a foot wrong. And Lindelof, he had a couple of moments in the air, but when the ball was on the ground and when the distribution needed to be good, the both of them were excellent. We really weren't threatened all that much. Even first half, there was a couple of chances. Second half, not too much, but I think a lot of that came from our defence. Because I think our attacking players today, other than Bruno, I mean, Martial wasn't up to too much, Rashford wasn't up to too much, Mata wasn't up to too much. So the result that we get today, 3-1, it looks convincing, but it comes from the hard work of our midfield and defence. I think we absolutely won the midfield battle, and they barely got a sniff up front. So it was really good to see that kind of solidarity. You're just praying for the moment when that all comes together consistently, where we're solid at the back, winning the midfield battles, and then our strikers or our attackers are just tearing teams to shred, because we know they have the ability to do that. They've done that. So obviously we hope to see that improve as things go forward, and it just continue to be an all-round great team performance. But yeah, the second half kind of fizzled out. Everton weren't offering too much. They were lumping a couple of balls into the box. Maguire, Lindelof dealing with it reasonably well. Tuanzebe came on and had a solid game. Nothing really got by him. Iwobi tried a few times. And then we get the breakaway at the end, a couple of seconds after the additional 4 minutes of stoppage time. But Bruno's running through, looks like he's about to shoot for the hat-trick, and then cuts it back, and Cavani gets off the mark. And you touched on it in the beginning of the podcast, Jamie, but that was your highlight, is seeing Cavani get his first goal for the club. And Imran, do you think that will give him some confidence going forward now? I mean, usually when a goal scorer gets his goal, sometimes can go from strength to strength, and with someone as skilled as we know Cavani can be, hopefully it's a sign of good things to come from him.
Massively, but to be honest with you, his attitude was completely different today than when he's come on before. And I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the first time he's come on when we've been winning, I think. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's the first time he's come on when we've been winning a game. But the effort he was putting in was way ahead of anything he's put in so far. He was really getting himself about. He looked a lot sharper than he has before. I think that when they had a free kick that they took quickly, they ended up getting pulled back, but he was the one blocking the cross on the floor from it.
That was good, though.
Yeah, like he was really he looked a lot sharper, looked a lot more interested than he has been, and then he got his goal, which I thought was very, very well taken, and that's what he can bring. So yeah, I was really pleased for him, because I've been a bit worried about him because he's been feeding off scraps a bit since the games he started. But in a game like this, where we're winning and we're defending that lead, and then he can work back, he's expected to kind of work back and then get involved in the play. Like, he's naturally going to get involved in the play in that regard. Like, he's naturally going to pick up the ball in deep positions, and that's going to help him get in line with our play and get up to fitness. So yeah, it was a really good cameo, I thought, from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he came onto the pitch with Marouane Fellaini. Paul Pogba, who seemed to be sent on to play the role of Marouane Fellaini. Jamie, what did you think of that? Pogba came on, went out to the left, and we just started launching a few long balls to him, but he was taking everything down on the chest or the knee pretty well. What did you think of his introduction after what's obviously been one of the usual periods of questioning Paul Pogba's ability?
I thought it was a decent cameo from Pogba as well, to be fair. As you said, he went on to that left-hand side, and practically everything we threw up to him, whether it was a long ball or it was a short pass from the midfield, he was gathering things in, he was holding guys off. Fellaini ate your heart out, I suppose, yeah. But Pogba just baffles me, because he can be good and be very, very good, but I don't see how he fits into the team and the system at the moment, because McFred in the middle are just so much better than what anything else we can bring in at the moment into the midfield. I mean, I compare them to a Power Ranger villain that merged together and just beat everything in sight, because when they play as well as that, I genuinely don't see an argument for anybody else being in the midfield. So it's weird with Pogba at the moment. Coming on and doing a performance like that, yep, can't really complain, but surely there needs to come a point where he starts providing more, because it just can't go on like this at the moment. I think the sooner we can make a decision with regards to moving him on, or he starts performing, basically. I don't really know what the solution is with Pogba at the moment, and I think maybe it would be better that sooner rather than later we do look to offload him, because it's no good for him either, just coming off the bench for 10 minutes to play the Marwan Fellaini role.
But he's world class at time wasting. Like, honestly, if you want someone in the corner holding up a ball, it's Paul. But he's quality at time wasting. So I was quite happy with that. I was really disappointed we had a free kick on the right at the end, and I thought, oh, they're going to play this to the corner. And watch Paul Pogba really show off his talents here, but Bruno messed up the free kick, so we didn't get to see the jewel in his crown. It's a shame, really.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He's quite difficult to get the ball off in the corner. I've seen it a few times where and you can see like the players are trying pretty hard to shove him and kick him, and he just sticks his leg out, puts his foot on top of the ball. No one's getting near it. Just when someone tries to come round the other side, he'll just roll it away from them, and then there'll be someone, usually Shaw, someone down the left channel, just ready to like relieve the pressure, and we've got 10, 15 yards of space with no one around us.
Kind of makes sense if you think about it, because Paul likes to do that in the middle of the pitch, but didn't realise that people can actually come from in front of him to tackle him. Whereas if he's in the corner, he can't. Like, he's got that. Maybe he thinks the whole of the pitch is actually the corner flag.
You know, you might be onto something there. You might be onto something, because it's right, because he does try similar ball retention techniques elsewhere on the pitch that he does in the corner flag, and yeah, for whatever reason, he's just the most sublime at times and the most frustrating player at times. He just embodies basically Solskjaer's reign. He's consistently inconsistent, but when you see what he can do, and I think his attitude is something that no one really knows that much about, because all I ever see from Pogba on the pitch is he looks like he's trying. He doesn't look like he's thrown his toys out the pram. When he does come on as a sub, it does look like he's trying, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. But at the same time, those games he starts and he just looks so disinterested. It's just hard to know what the real Pogba is, if we can still call him a world-class player in general. I think he has been one, but I think he needs to step it up a little bit more, because a guy of his talents should be the first name on the team sheet. I don't think there's any question about that, but for whatever reason, and I think Solskjaer deserves great credit for this, because this season he has been pretty firm on Pogba not starting when he's been playing shit. I think that's a huge managerial decision to make. We saw it with Rooney for the longest time, where his performances had just dropped, but every single week he would be in the first 11, and I think we see Solskjaer willing to take that step with Pogba and say, no, if you're going to be part of my team, you need to play yourself into it. And for someone who, when they first came to the club, said you build your team around Paul Pogba, I think that's a pretty big managerial statement to make, and obviously Pogba's performances have made it a bit easier for Solskjaer to do. But I think that's a credit to Solskjaer's ability to manage the dynamics of the squad. He's playing the players that he thinks is going to get better from him, and then bringing someone on who has a point to prove. But going to the end of the game, I know that there was a bit of probably some excitement from our predictions. Maybe not for you, Jamie, because you had predicted 2-2 to Everton, you negative Nancy.
2-2 to Everton.
But Imran, you
predicted 2-2 Everton, yeah.
2-2 Everton. But Imran, you had changed from 0-0 to 2-1 to Man United. You didn't specify Man United, but I assume you meant that we were going to win. What made you change when you saw the lineup?
Actually, well, originally what I thought Ollie was going to go free at the back, because I thought he would just go super back to basics, super back to being solid. So when I thought he would do that, I thought we wouldn't have much up front. I thought it would just be a 0-0. But then when I saw we were going 4-3-3, I thought actually there's probably some goals in this. Just because I feel like Rashford and Martial play better as when they're part of a 3 as opposed to a 2, and actually neither of them play particularly well. But yeah, I figured there'd be some goals in it for us, and luckily I was spot on.
Almost. You were spot on until that's why I mentioned
The
the
93rd
goal.
minute or something.
Yeah, the goal coming after the allotted stoppage time period.
So technically it doesn't count.
Technically an illegal goal, and
Yeah.
you were right. But Jamie, you went for 2-2. What did you see before the game and kind of the lead up to it and the starting lineup we went with? What did you see there that made you not change your mind?
I saw a stat on Twitter, I think it was, saying that in all of Everton's games at the Premier League at home this season, before today, there's been 17 goals scored. So I thought after the performance on Wednesday, I just thought kind of similar to Imran, I thought we would go right back to basics, be potentially three at the back. Even when I saw the lineup, I still was like, right, yeah, it's slightly different to what I thought it would be, but at the same time, McTominay and Fred in the middle, we've went really solid at the back. We're obviously just going to try and make sure, at the very least, we don't lose this game. But then coupled with the fact that Everton haven't been particularly great at keeping teams out, and just due to the fact that we haven't been particularly great either, I just thought there would be goals as well, and I did think it would be a score draw. But I was pleasantly surprised to be wrong.
And I had gone for 3-2 in our WhatsApp group, so I was happy to be right with the amount of goals that we scored. But what I was really surprised about was Alex, a regular on the podcast. For some reason, once Everton scored, he just comes out with this bold prediction that Everton are going to win 3-1, which I found absolutely baffling. Absolutely disgrace.
The negativity is...
No, we don't need that kind of negativity around here, and I hope Alex is having a nice long look at himself in the mirror after getting that horribly wrong. But yeah, I think after that result, I think it does give Solskjaer that little bit of breathing room that I think he needed, everyone at the club needed. And now we move into this international break with the conversation being Man United. We still don't know what we're going to get, but they're capable of turning on performances that what has been one of the better teams in the Premier League this season. I know that they're on a little bit of a kind of patchy run, but their other defeats this season came with James out the team. So having him back today, Digne being back today, I think they were expected to do a little bit better. And as bad as they were at times, I don't think they played great today. But I think a lot of that came from how committed we were, how dedicated we were to stopping them try to play through the middle. I thought we won the battle in the middle of the park relatively comfortably, despite being up against some really physical players. But yeah, it was good to see he takes a lot of pressure off of Solskjaer. And yeah, we move into the next 2 weeks with a bit of a clearer head. And I don't think those people that after Istanbul game who were saying Ole out, I think there'll be some more flip-flopping going on. I didn't change my mind after the Istanbul game saying Ole should be out. I think when you take these two results in the context of we just played in Turkey on a Wednesday night and we just played back home on a Saturday early. It was an early kickoff. And I know Solskjaer after the game seemed to be getting pretty upset about that we had such a quick turnaround. And I think he's got a point there.
We were set up to fail. I said to you before, I want to talk to you about the kickoff time before the game, and they set up the boys to fail. We got Luke Shaw injured today because of we've been to Turkey. We played loads of games this season already, and we've been to Turkey Wednesday night. Come Thursday morning, we're back in. We're playing Saturday lunchtime kickoff. It's an absolute shambles, and I can't praise the boys enough for that character they've shown. That's all I want to talk about today. Them boys, they deserve better than being thrown out here to fail today.
Yeah, he's got a point.
Yeah.
This is obviously it's an unprecedented season, but before teams that play in the Champions League on a Wednesday, why can't it be scheduled that they play on the Sunday? Like it just didn't make sense to me. But I think when you take that into consideration, it doesn't paint a better picture of the performance in Istanbul. But you can see the players' kind of approach to it. They probably think that they can turn up and get a result. They have one eye against a very difficult fixture against Everton at the weekend. Seemed like we were putting more attention on this fixture, and you see the result of that today where we come away with a convincing win. One of the things at the start of this game that we want to bring some attention to, and Jamie in particular, Everton did something really, really noble at the beginning of that game. Talk us through it, Jamie.
Well, basically, it was just something I spotted. Not originally at the start of the game. It was just when I was scrolling through Twitter, and I saw that Everton and a lot of the United fan groups had retweeted this, and it was basically Everton thanking Marcus Rashford for his off-the-field activity, saying that he had went out of his way to make sure that kids were remaining fed and just doing a lot of hard work, not just for himself and in recognition for himself, it was for the betterment of everyone. So the statement they put up was, "Thank you for sticking up for our kids who needed a voice here on Merseyside and across the country. Thank you from the Everton fans." And it was Everton retweeted it and also put it up on the big screen at the start of the game. And I just thought that was well worth a mention, because that was just a touch of class from Everton as a club, and from the fans as well.
Absolutely, and I think Rashford can probably expect that at any ground that he goes to now. Obviously, he's a national hero. It kind of obviously this is on a whole different level, but remember Andres Iniesta, after he scored his goal in the World Cup final, he had lifted his shirt up and he had a message for Antonio Puerta, the Sevilla player that he was really good friends with, that had passed away. And I know every single ground that Iniesta went to play at, the opposition fans just showed him the most amount of respect, because he had won the World Cup for them, but because he had also dedicated that goal to a player who had unfortunately passed away. And I think that Rashford can probably expect the same kind of recognition at every ground he goes to, whether there are fans there or whether there are not. I think we've got ourselves a national hero on our hands, which is excellent to see. And I mean, it does take a little bit of light off of what again was not the best performance from him, but it's he's a hero. He's doing such great things around the country. Imran, what's your take on that?
I mean, he's a beautiful, beautiful man. I mean, what more can you say that hasn't been said about him already? He's just a cracking man. He's 23 years old, only just turned 23 years old. He's doing things that, like, I mean, what were you doing when you were 23? What was I doing when I was 23? Nothing in comparison. Like, honestly, just, and anyone saying like, "Oh, stick to the football," what a load of bollocks that is. Like, he can do it. He can do it all. It's just a great thing he's doing, and yeah, couldn't be more in awe of him, basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's quite incredible. Like you say, he's only 23 years old. I mean, I've just had a moment where I realise I'm 10 years older than Marcus Rashford, and what have I done with my life?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I had a business degree when I was 23. I don't think he had that, did he? I mean, 2-1.
Doesn't he have an honorary doctorate now? I think
well,
he's a doctor.
I actually had to, not do any work for mine, so it's a bit different.
But yeah, no, it's absolutely incredible to see, and I get for Everton to do something like that, it shows a lot of class about them as well, and yeah, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of clubs do the same. But yeah, we move on today and into the international break with a 3-1 win. Imran, where are you at right now on the whole Ole out, Ole in scenario? Do you think that game today has brought him some breathing room, or has your opinion stayed the same?
It's bought him time. He's not going to get sacked now after a win. Where I'm on there's a nice little fence, and I'm just perched on it, because I find it hard to care too much when the whole structure of the club is a bit of a shit show anyway. And I do think we're set up to fail whoever comes in charge. It'd have to take like a really inspired manager to even do anything in the kind of structure that we have to work within. So, I mean, there's a fence, I'm sat on it. I don't care. I just want us to win games.
Jamie, what about yourself, bud?
I'm on the fence as well. I mean, I said after the game on Wednesday that if the performance was poor today, if the scoreline really wasn't in our favour, then I could certainly understand if a decision was made regarding Ole, and I could certainly understand people starting to move towards voting to get him out. I'm still on the fence though, because we can do well and we can play performances like this, and as Imran rightly says as well, there's a lot of things wrong at the club that aren't his fault, and that he has to deal with and that he has to contend with. But when you see performances like Arsenal, like Istanbul, the games at the start of the season, it does look like one of the potential problems could be the manager. So at the moment, I'm still on the fence. It's a good performance today, good win. don't get me wrong, but we need to see vast improvement after this international break, for sure.
I agree, and it's almost like the mindset of our players is to expect the up and down without the consistency of a long run of high quality performances. Like, this has become the norm. It's Solskjaer's reign in a nutshell. We turn it on, we look great, we've turned a corner, boom, back to just complete objectivity where we look horrible, we're talking about getting rid of the manager, we're talking about replacing our whole squad, and then boom, we go and smash someone, we look amazing, Bruno turns in a 10 out of 10 performance, everything's good again, boom, we fall off the other end of the spectrum. I think it might be part of our players' mindset to almost expect that they're going to go on a little bit of run, then there's going to be some times where they struggle, and I think the players need to get that out of their system as soon as possible and go on a run. Now, when we come back after the international break, we have an opportunity to absolutely smash a team. West Brom do not look like they're up to much this season. Yes, they're going to put a low block on. Yes, they're going to make it difficult for us. But that is a team that, with these players and this amount of creativity we do have in the squad, that's a team that we should be putting a beating on. So I'm excited for them to go away in their international break, hopefully not pick up any injuries or any stupid injuries, and come back and kick on our season. Because, I mean, yes, we only went from 15th to, I think, 12th today, but there's still only like maybe 4 or 5 points separating us from being in the top 4 at this point. So it's early doors in the season. And yeah, we really need to get the mindset of, no, we can go on a long and consistent run of 10, 12, 15 games where we look strong, look better than the opposition, and we can put ourselves up the table in what is probably going to continue to be a really, really crazy season. There's just results kicking in every week now that just don't make any sense. And I mean, we're talking today with Southampton at the top of the Premier League. It's a mind-boggling season, but yeah, this international break has probably came at the perfect time. I know we have said that before, and with Solskjaer in charge, and we've come back and we've not looked the best. But yeah, he's bought himself some more time. Even though there was a lot of noise in the media the past few days, which I found very interesting. The noise was Man United are backing Solskjaer. This is a long-term plan. Looked like they were trying to nip it in the bud. Any suggestion of if he loses against Everton, he's gone. I don't think that was ever going to happen, as much as personally I think maybe you lose today, then you seriously have to consider it. But yeah, we're in a good place right now, and long may it continue. And yeah, we'll see where we're at in 2 weeks against West Brom. But yeah, Imran, anything else, any takeaways from the game today, and how are you feeling moving into this international break as a Man United fan?
One thing that kind of plays on my mind a bit is how we're very reliant on individual players really turning it on. Now, I don't know if this is actually any team is reliant on this, but I mean, our players seem a bit more inconsistent. So like Rashford and Martial, you really don't know what you're going to get a lot of the time, especially at the moment. Like, they could turn it on. If they turn it on, then we're going to win. If they don't, then we've got to rely on Bruno to turn it on. If he doesn't, then we've got a problem. I don't think you can really. We're not like a team where we're reliant. Like, we can have a couple of like our main players, like even playing poorly, but it's not even like they're putting average performances. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's either up here or really down there, and I think we need a bit of more consistency from them. Like, even if Martial puts in an average performance, that would be like today. It might make the difference. Or same with Rashford. So I don't know if that's just any team though. I've not really got my mind thought through on it, but there you go.
Yeah, I think you've seen today is if the defence is solid and Bruno plays well, and against Fred and McTominay to that extent, then we're going to cause problems to any team, and we're going to be very difficult to break down. And if that can be consistent, then there are going to be games where our forwards do turn it on and just absolutely destroy teams. Like, we become I'd say an elite force at that point, with that level of strength at the back, consistency in the midfield and drive, and then Martial, Rashford playing as good as we know they can. Yeah, it does make us to me, it makes us an elite team, because we saw that today, that without those players really playing well up front, we still were able to get a very, very good win at a very, very difficult place to go to. Jamie, where are you at going into the next 2 weeks as a Man United fan?
Kind of just mirroring the podcast, really. We're consistently inconsistent, as we've said a few times, that we just need to try and tie down some consistent performances, not just for 2 or 3 games, we need to be getting 4, 5, 6, 7 games. I don't mean all wins. I just mean just start having solid performances, have a good base to work from, and go again. Because too often do we have weeks where we beat PSG, we draw with Chelsea, we beat Leipzig, we then lose to Arsenal, we then lose to Istanbul, we then beat Everton. Those games could just be used as an example of the last 12 months or so of Man United in terms of how they play from week to week. It's too often that we just can't start having the back four consistently playing well and making sure that we have plenty of clean sheets or concede as few goals as possible, giving the rest of the team a good platform. Too often somebody in the midfield just doesn't turn up and it ends up impacting the rest of the midfield. Too often does one of the front players have an off game and that then impacts the other players, and then, as Imran says, and as you said, David, the stress then goes on to the other players to perform, and it's added pressure. So when we come back from the international break, I'm not asking us to go on a huge winning run per se. I just would like to see some consistent performances where the team start gelling and we start being able to give ourselves a good platform to finally launch the season, really, because it's been an absolutely crazy start. The only benefit really has been that every other team practically has also had a crazy season to this point. Even teams like Everton, who aren't in Europe, have a really good start to the season. They then have the Liverpool game, and since then they've lost 3 games. So it's a saving grace that everybody's struggling really with a completely mental season, but we do need to seriously start improving the performances and give ourselves a good platform to move on.
Yeah, as good a point as any to end the podcast.
Whoa, I've got my 5 minutes I need.
Oh, your 5 minutes. I forgot you said this at the beginning. Go ahead.
I'm intrigued by this.
Okay, yeah. So, as you all may have listened, this summer I did a dreadful quiz. So now we're going to play another stupid game. It's a lot quicker this time. But Imran's stupid game time. We can put a jingle in here for Imran's stupid game.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right, so quick, tiny quiz. It's going to be on names. These are names of people in our squad, as taken from our official squad list. All right, so Dave, you're the host. Heads or tails?
Tails.
It's heads. Sorry. In my head, I didn't actually toss a coin, but in my head, I had picked heads already.
Shocking.
So, Jamie, you're going first. All right, so quickly. This is quickly. Last name. Whose last name is Quintana?
Don't know. No, I can't even think.
No, not even a guess. David.
Is this an anagram or is this a
their
random
actual
youth
last
player
name is
in our
Quintana.
under 12
Someone in our
squad?
squad, last name is Quintana.
Bruce.
Who's Bruce?
I don't know, just Quintana sounds like Bruce would be a good first name for it. I have no idea.
All right, well, it's De Gea. David De Gea's last name is Quintana.
Ah, right. Now I get the point of the game.
Dave,
right.
you're up next. Whose middle name is Owen?
Scott McTominay.
Incorrect. Jamie.
Rashford.
Incorrect. It's Dan James. Dan Owen James, a man with 3 first names. How bland is that? There you go. Terrible name. All right. Whose first name, and this is back to you, Jamie, whose first name is Jacob?
Shaw.
Luke Shaw. Incorrect. David.
Cavani.
It's Harry Maguire. His first name is Jacob. It's Jacob Harry Maguire.
Really?
Yeah, he picked Harry. Who knew? Who knows why? But I did not know that. I was quite... That may or may not have been the reason why I invented this quiz, because I was so stunned by that fact. So currently the scores are 0-0. Obviously there's not enough Scottish names in here, probably. If only someone was called Jock, then we'd be rolling. But
It's 2020, Imran. You can't say that anymore.
Okay, whose turn is it? It's David. So, last name, Garcia.
Juan Mata.
Correct. We've got a point on the board. Right. So, now over to Jamie with whose middle name is Paul, and I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm going to go with Hore. Hoare. Hore. Paul Hore.
Eric Bailly.
Incorrect. His middle name is Bertrand. David.
I'd go for maybe our new signing, Palestri.
It's actually Luke Shaw. Luke Paul Horace Shaw. The man came from
Really?
money. There you go. You know.
Wow.
Right.
I like these questions.
I know. I'm going to tell you what. Not so crap, this quiz. Whose turn is it?
That's me.
David.
Cool. All right. Whose first name is Faustino?
Faustino. Pass.
Pass. Jamie.
I'll go for that Palestri guy, the new
It's-
signing.
It's not, unfortunately. It is Marcus Rojo.
It
Faustino.
was definitely South American, but I was thought
Yeah.
Marcus Rojo didn't play with us anymore. I forgot all about that.
Faustino's a better name than Marcus. You should have gone with Faustino Rojo. Right, next one. Whose middle name is Jordan? We're on Jamie.
I'll go for Axel Twanzebe.
Well, it's a good guess. It's a good guess, but it's incorrect. He has no middle name. David?
Wan-Bissaka?
It is Anthony Marshall. Anthony Jordan Marshall.
What the hell?
Yeah,
That doesn't sound very French.
it's
that
not
name.
at all.
His whole name isn't French.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, next one. And we're getting to the last two here. So, it's for you, David. Evans. Whose first name is Evans?
Edinson Cavani.
No, his name is Edison, not Evans. Evans Edison would be a good name, but anyway, no, it's not. Jamie?
Lindelof.
It is not. It is Timothy Forsu Mensah, whose actual full name is Evans Timothy Forsu Mensah. He has Forsu twice in his name.
Oh, I thought you said Edens. You said
No,
Evans.
No,
Oh, I definitely still wouldn't have got it, but good
Evans, there you go. And the last one, who is for David, isn't it? I went in the wrong order, but it didn't really matter. The last one is whose name is Rodriguez de Paulo Santos.
to know. Rodriguez de Paulo Santos. Can only be Alex Tellez with a name like that.
Incorrect. Jamie, for the draw, can he get it? Come on.
Fred.
Yes! Oh, he's stolen it right at the end.
Boom.
1-1. Oh, if only I'd organised a tiebreaker, but I haven't. So there you go. What a game! What a game! Dramatic.
That was
stuff.
excellent, that.
Yeah, I like it. Imran, a quick question for you. What's Jesse Lingard's middle name?
I know this. It's like I don't know. It's like it begins with an E. Is all I can remember because I did look at the list. It's like Ellie, Ellis.
There you go, Ellis. Spot on.
Yeah, you see, I cheated though because I had literally looked at this list of names. So you know.
Oh, I like that. Has Jordan being Anthony Martial's middle name's quite surprising.
Yeah, I just like that Fosu is called Timothy Fosu. I mean, that's great. I
I like Rojo's first name, Faustino.
I'm just literally. I was reading it and like Harry Maguire's first name is Jacob. I was like, this needs to be the basis of the whole quiz. So yes, that was another edition of Imran's shit game.
Ding, ding, ding. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks again, everybody. Everyone, take care.
Do the
Stay
plugs.
safe. Yeah, the plugs. What am I plugging this week?
Leave a review, comment, Instagram, Twitter.
No worry, boys.
Cheers.
Good night, troops.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, folks. Feel free to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. And of course, all fans of any club around the world are welcome. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram by searching for United Hour. If you did enjoy this episode, we'd love if you could leave us a rating and a review, and feel free to ask us questions which we will address on the show. Take care, stay safe, and thanks so much for the support.